Today's daf is Masechus Nedarim, daf Samach Zayin. We are at a new parak, Naira Hamerasa, the bottom of Samach Vav Mebez, the last line. So we're new parak. So Zok the Heilige Mishnah. So this parak is going to discuss being mefer the Nedarim of one's daughter or wife. So there's a few halachas. One halacha is 6 points to make. So one halacha is that a father is allowed to be made for the nedarim of his daughter when she reaches the time, oinas nedarim, which is the time she can make nedarim, and when she's a naira. So oinas nedarim is when she's 11 years old on one day, and she becomes a naira when she's 12 for 6 months. So he could just tell his daughter at the time, Mufar Lacha, and he's Bevatal Neder. But once she gets married, then she already considers she went out of Rishus of her father into Rishus of her husband, and then the husband could be made for the Neder without the father. Another halacha, that the father or the husband only has a koyach to be made for the Neder in the day that he heard about this Neder. But if he heard about the neder and he said nothing that day and he was not made for, then he cannot be made for the neder tomorrow. A third halacha. Just like the father or the husband can be made for the neder, so too they could also be mekayim the neder. How do you do a kamas neder? How you make him the neder? If the day that he hears the neder says kayim lacha, then he cannot, once he does that, he can no longer be made for it, even that day. Number 4, fourth din, a father is made for a nedarim a husband can be made for a nedarim that his wife made when she wasn't his rishos, but he cannot be made for a nedarim that she made before she married him. A fifth halacha, a husband could only be made for a nedarim that have inu nefesh, that have like pain. For instance, if she made a neder, she's not going to eat meat or drink wine, or things that are between him and his wife. Like if she made a neder, she's not going to put on makeup, or she'll to skash it, she's not going to dress herself up. A sixth halacha, a naira hamiras leish, a naira that is engaged to a man and she still did not get married, she did not have chuppah yet. The halacha is, it's still not considered that she went out of the rishus of her father. But however, she's not legamri in her father's rishus, and she's a little bit of rishus of her husband, or her husband soon to be. So this Mishnah is discussing this sixth halacha, Nair Marasa, which is partially in her father's rishus and partially in her husband's rishus. So the Mishnah is going to explain who was made for this neder. So Zok the Heilige Mishnah. Nair Marasa. Aviu Baila Mefir Nedera. Her father and her husband together are both made for a neder. Hey for Av, hey for Abal. What happens if only the father was made for the neder but not the husband together? Or he for Abba, he for Av, if just the husband did it and not the father, ain't a mufar. The neder is not mufar, because they have to do it together. So they have to break the neder together when she's an Aimarasa. The Ein Tzarech Loimar Kayim Echmen Zok the Mishnah. You don't have to say that if one of them was Makayim the neder and the other one was made for it, that's not considered afar. That's Pasha. So the Gemara. For the Gemara, Hainu Reisha. So the Mishnah said, Hey for Av, Hey for Abal, Hey for Abal, Hey for Av, Einim Ofer. So for the Gemara, Hainu Reisha, Viu Bailam Mefir Nederah. It just said in the beginning, the first words of the Mishnah, Naimarasa, Viu Bailam Mefir Nederah. So why do you have to tell me Hey for Abal, Hey for Av? So the Gemara, Ma'od, Hey, I might think, that the kavanah of the Mishnah is either or. Katani. Kamash Malon, the Sefer is telling you, no, they can't do it without each other. Zok the Gemara by Dvain Zach Lamer Shnei Shakim Echamahan. If one of them is Mekayim, is that the Gemara Lamila Misna? Why do you have to say there's a Lach Mishnah? You see Vaiter from the Reisha. That's that if they both have to be made for, so they both have to be made for. So I think Gemara Hashti Yishloimar Hefezer B'Loi Zev B'Loi Klum. Because now I could say. So for the Gemara, Hashta, yeah. So now if you say, hey, for Zebeloi Zev, like Klub, it's nothing. Kaim Echem Lamali Trichel Misni. Why do you have to tell me that one's Mekayim without the other? It's Pasha also doesn't work. Yeah, that's the Kasha. And for the Gemara, Ki Itzrichle, when do you need a din to say? Because the Hefer Echem Ehem Mekiyim Echad. The Chazar Mekayim Inishal Akamasai. It's talking about that one of them was Mekayim, was broke the nether, was made for the nether, and then one of them was Mekayim the nether. And then in that very same day, the one that was Mekayim the Neder, he went to a Chacham and he was shy on his Akama. And he was Mavafal his Akama. So what do you do then? I might think that he was already Oiker what he was making. And now he goes back and he has a Koyach to be made for the Neder. And to Tzarf to the far of the first one that was already made for Kamash Shalom with fear and Shneim Vasachas. That no, they only have a koyach to be made for together only if they do it together. And they can't be anything being mafsek between one being made for and the other one being made for. Like a hakama. And even though at the end he was mevatal's hakama yidei she'ela, but b'shas the hakama Lamaisa, the first one's afara wasn't able to be mitzaref to his, so therefore the afara is not a good afara. So that's a chiddush of the Sefer of the Mishnah. Zok the Gemara, v'naira hameirasa. This is what it says in the Mishnah of Yil Bailam and Fearing in the Ram, Minolan. How do you know this halacha that they're both made for the neder and the naira? Amar Rabba says, Amakra. It says a pasuk by Parak Lam at pasuk Zayin through Tess. It says, V'mhayu seal ish in the if she gets married to a man in the Re'aleh, v'im b'yoyim shmaya isha. When her husband hears it, Yani Oisai v'hefres neder shalav, it's meant to say Sha'asan Avshav Hashem Yislach La. So Zok the Gemara. Mikan, you see from this, why? Because it says, first it says a pasuk that her father's made for the nether, and then it says V'im hayisila ish. So we kind of darshan from the fact that it says V'im, that the vav is moisef on the pasuk before, and it says if she gets married to somebody else, then her husband has to be made for together with the father, so it's like a hemshech. So, Frak the Gemara, how do you know it's talking about Arusa? She's engaged Ema Hai Kra before a chuppah. How do you know it's talking with this Erison? Maybe Ema Hai Kra of Hayusila Ish is talking about Nesua. Maybe that's supposed to be Nesua. To tell you that what? And the Balkan made for himself once she gets married. Who said it's B'chlal connected to before? Zok the Gemara, Imishum Nesua Kra Achri Neksiv. South of the Sunnah, you have a different pasuk. It says, when base Isha Nadara. So Behechach has to be pasuk Mahayusil Ish has to go on Arusa because for the Nesua we have a different pasuk. And we'll learn out that Aviyah Bailam and Fear in the Ra. So for the Gemara Ve'ema Tarvayu, maybe both of the psukim Mahayusil Ish and base Isha Nadara ben Nesua. Maybe they're both talking about Nesua, that telling you that the husband can be made for his wife's Sandarim. So maybe you'll ask me, why do you need two psukim? So I could tell you on that. Maybe it's coming to tell you that a husband cannot be made for his wife's Sandarim that she made before she married him. So frakti exacting Gemara, Vilav Memela Shamina. Wouldn't you learn that out of the pasuk when basing the Shenadara that he could only be made for an Nadarim that the wife made when she was under his rishos, when she was married to him? So the Cheravaita, you don't need this pasuk to tell you in Nesua. So Behechach, the pasuk is talking about Arusa. And the Bezoi, it's going to tell you that it's a hemshech to the pasuk before, Afar Sa'av, and it's telling you that Avila Baila, Mefin Nidera, Boy, Anarim Arasa. Another teretz talking Gemara, Iba Yisema, the Havaya Kedusha Mashma. The Havaya that it says on the pasuk V'Mahaya Yisila Ish is Mashma Kedushin, that she still did not get married to him. Havaya is a Lashon Kedushin. Kumtois, So another teretz of the Gemara there, Havoyas Kedusha Mashma, and therefore, Kumtois that the father himself cannot be mefer. It's only b'shut as the Aras because Vaita you have the Vav. Fred Gemara Ema Avlu Chadei mefer. So maybe you'll say that just the father himself can mefer as in Rebita, even without the Aras. But so meaning maybe that just a father can be mefer in the Nedarim himself, but the Aras can't be mefer without the father, like it's mashma from the Vav. So how do you know that the father does not have the option of being made for the nether himself? And the Gemara, Im Kain, if the father can be made for himself, but Asr Isa Beis Avia Yani Isa, Asr Isa Beis Avia Yani Isa, is that it said in the beginning of the parasha, Gabi Naira, Penuya, she's not married. Lamali, why do you need that pasuk? Kashti Shloimar Koim Aris Meifavachadei. If you tell me that where the Aris is around when she has Aris in, that the father can make for himself, Shloim Makam Aris Ubaya, the pasuk have to tell me that if the Aris is not here, then the father can make for himself. So Elo Behechach, you have to say that what? Davad, you have to say that the father cannot be made for himself, Nair Rasa, only together with the Aris, and therefore the pasuk had to tell us. No, then he could do it himself. Then the father could be made for an Nedarim. So, for Gemara, Ema Avli by Aris, maybe the father needs Aris and he can't be made for himself. Only b'shutas of the Aris, with Aris l'chudei meifar. Maybe the Aris himself could. Maybe the Aris himself could be made for alone. So the Gemara explains the question of Chitemo. You'll say Av the Kasar Achmano. This that it says Av. By Arusa, from the fact that you tell me Vim Hayisila Ish is Moisiv on the first thing, which is talking about Av, Lamali. Lachera, his Hafar doesn't do anything, so why would you need to say Av, Lagabe Erison? So I could tell you, Zak Gemara, Mi Boyaledim, Hakim, that if the father himself does Akama, then it is good. Hafara, maybe not. But if he does a Hakama alone, that's enough to make that the Aris cannot be made for. So Zakti Gemara to this, the Gemara is answering back, Im Kain that the Aris can make for himself, Beisish and Nadara. They said it says Beisish and Nadara the Gamin is too. Well, Lamai Kasab. Why did the Torah write it? That the father tell you that the husband can make for himself. Kava Chaimer, the Charetz Kava Chaimer. Ubam Umabim Kaim Av. If Arusa that did not go out of the Rosh Hashanah father, Aris made for the Chudei. The Aris can make for himself. Shalom come avin baya. If she's not in the Rishus of the father at all because she got married to him, do you need to tell me that he can make for the Nedarim? And nachashayla freaking Gemara. Ema in basic Nedara lemeshena bal made for bekaidman. I'll tell you that the Aris could be made for the Nedarim himself, and the pasuk in basic Nedara is telling you that he just can't be made for an Nedarim that came in prior to the Nesuin. So Zakti Gemara and the Gemara umine from this halacha that you see that the Baal cannot be made for Nedarim Koidman, Nedarim that came in prior, that she made prior to the marriage. You see from that halacha that the Aris cannot be made for himself. Why? Because Aris Meifar the Koidman. Why? Because we see that the Aris, there's a halacha that the Aris could be, that by the Gabi Erisin, the Aris could be made for an Nedarim that she made before Erisin. So how would that make sense for the Gemara? Because you're telling me that the Aris can be made for B'shas Erisin and Nedarim before Erisin, but when he gets married, he can't be made for Nedarim before Nesuin. How is it shaykh? It doesn't make sense that the strength of a Aris would be better than the strength of a Baal. That means it doesn't make sense to say that a B'shas Erisin, which he's not even fully married to her, he can make for Nedarim from before. But B'shas Nesuin, he can't be made for Nedarim before. Why are they different? It's not mustaver to say like that. Elalav like Gemara Mishum Shetfasei Da'av. It must be the reason why the Aris, when he B'shas Erisin has a koyach, they can make for his Nedarim Koidmin, the Nedarim that are there from before Erisin, is only because he's doing it b'shut v'sadav, together with the father.